Don't get married. It's like sledding off a cliff. You might be okay, but probably not, and the thrill isn't worth it. I've tried all kinds of living arrangements, including marriage, and would generally not recommend it. For men, there are serious risks in major life areas like your finances, mental health, and general happiness. The alternatives to getting married aren't always great, but they can definitely be better than tying the knot. Divorce laws are a big part of the problem, but I want to first focus on a key area that many people are afraid to talk about, and that is how insufferable women can be in long-term relationships. That's right, I said it. The biggest barrier to happiness within marriage is the modern woman, especially her attitudes and behaviors. Before anyone gets the idea that I'm anti-women, I will say that I see this as a social and cultural problem. Not all women are insufferable, and in some ways I regret not marrying my first girlfriend. She was a farm girl with a great attitude who certainly would have made a good wife. I didn't realize when I was with her that she was a rare exception rather than just normal. A large percentage of modern women are very difficult to deal with over the long term. If you've spent time living alone, as I have, you would already realize how peaceful life can be without a micromanager around. You don't need a woman questioning your decisions, scheduling jobs, and measuring your performance against a set of princess-level expectations for how she believes she should be treated. But that's exactly what modern women do. They insert themselves into everything. It's not just about helping out. It's about taking over. They act like they know better, like your way of doing things isn't good enough, and as if your role is to constantly prove your worth to her. Respect for men, playing a supportive role, they never learned that. They never saw it modeled. What they got instead was a political education. They studied the patriarchy. They learned to guard themselves from ever being used. So in their eyes, letting a man simply live with his own free will feels like surrendering control, and that to them equals exploitation. I've found this attitude to be deeply ingrained and something that can't be fixed, no matter what you try. Even if you place no demands on them, you can be sure that they will place demands on you. The potential for a win-win situation is always there, but never actually happens. It wasn't always like this. The marriage model that usually worked in the past allowed men and women to lead fairly separate lives. The man had his friends, his work, his outside world. The woman had hers. They came together around the kids and the home, but they didn't intertwine, trying to get emotional needs met like a couple of teenagers. The woman didn't rely on the man for regular entertainment. He didn't rely on her for daily companionship. There was space. There was mutual purpose. There was some basic structure that kept it running. Now, that's gone. Women want the man to be everything: partner, therapist, co-parent, lifestyle provider, and spiritual equal, all while she is ready to critique him at any time. And when the relationship dynamic starts to break down, guess who gets blamed? You do. To be fair, women aren't completely wrong when they say they don't need men anymore. Many of them can earn their own income. And if they can't, there's plenty of government support available: housing, childcare subsidies, legal aid, domestic support services. The system will help them if they choose to walk. But it goes both ways. We don't need them as much either. Households are easy to run, and once need is removed from both sides, what's left? Usually the relationship ends up revolving around her emotional needs, her moods, her sense of fulfillment, her need for validation, reassurance, stimulation. That's not a sustainable or desirable way to live. Most men, especially as they get older, want peace. They want space. They want a quiet, steady life without constant drama, correction, or emotional unpredictability. And if being in a relationship means trading all of that away just to keep someone happy, then it's not worth it. Some guys think they'll play it safe by just living with a woman. No wedding, no ring. Keep it casual, right? Wrong. If you live together, especially if you have kids, you're still at risk. The courts may treat you like a married couple. In some jurisdictions, that's called a de facto relationship, and it can carry almost all the same legal risks. She can still go after your money. You can still lose access to your children. You can still end up in court fighting for basic rights. That's why if you want to protect yourself, you need to live separately. Do not cohabitate. Do not share finances. Keep your independence. Once you're financially entangled, it's game over. She can walk away and still have a claim on what you've built. And if the relationship turns toxic, which is more likely when you're under the same roof, you have no escape route. Keeping your own space is one of the smartest decisions you can make. The number of people getting married has collapsed. The marriage rate, measured as marriages per 1,000 people, has fallen by more than 60% since 1970. That's not just people delaying, it means an expanding portion of the population is choosing to not marry at all. This isn't a blip, it's a steady unraveling of marriage as a default life path, and it's not coming back. Even among those who still marry, the results aren't good. Divorce rates remain high, and that doesn't even count the number of couples who stay technically married but live in quiet misery. We hear less about them, the ones who endure cold households, constant tension, or simply grow emotionally distant. No passion, no intimacy, just duty and awkward coexistence. Sexless marriages are far more common than people admit, and they're not a sign of stable love. They're a sign that the emotional and physical connection has died, but the couple is unwilling or lacking the energy to endure a painful breakup. The truth is, happily ever after has become the rare exception, and men are noticing. They're looking around and seeing broken homes, angry exes, weaponized children, and hostile courts. Men aren't confused, they're not afraid, they've just done the math, and they're saying no, because marriage today is not about building something together, it's a liability. For too many men, it's the worst deal they'll ever sign. So why is marriage still pushed? Because for a long time it worked for society. Marriage helped organize families, raise children, and support the economy. It made sense in a different era, but that world is gone. Roles have changed, laws have changed, and now the risks fall mostly on men. Still, marriage keeps getting pushed by tradition, by governments who want stable households, and by women who benefit from the control and security it gives them. It's promoted as good for everyone, but the reality is very one-sided. They want you to sign up, but they won't be there when it all falls apart. Marriage isn't a sacred institution, it's a state-enforced wealth transfer system funded by men for the benefit of everyone else. Let's stop pretending it's about love and commitment. Marriage is a legal contract, one that gives her full power to destroy your life and zero consequences if she does. She can leave at any time. She can take your house, your kids, your money, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. That's not a partnership, that's a trap. Even the emotional work you put in gets weaponized. If you open up, it's used against you. If you assert yourself, you're called controlling. If you detach to protect yourself, you're accused of being cold and distant. You genuinely can't win if she moves against you, and once she feels slighted, even slightly, it's game over. And when that day comes, the judge won't care how hard you tried. Some men think they'll flip the script and let her provide while they stay home, but that arrangement rarely holds. Even women who agree to it eventually grow resentful. They don't want a man they can't look up to. They don't want a partner who's emotionally dependent and fully domesticated. They may say they do, but they don't. Back to that farm girl I mentioned earlier. She was raised in a home where the father was obviously respected and relied upon. The mother supported him. They had no time for ideology or feminist theory. They worked hard and lived simply. The result? A daughter who appreciated men, who didn't treat them like a nuisance or a burden. She was very loyal and flexible. I didn't realize at the time how rare that was. I thought most girls had some basic humility and understanding of male value. I was wrong. What we have now is a culture that actively turns women against men, while still expecting men to sign their lives over. It doesn't work. It can't work. Most divorce laws were written when women weren't working. That's why they were built to protect females, financially, emotionally, legally. But now women work. They earn. They also initiate the majority of divorces. And yet they still walk away with the assets, the support payments, and the children. That's not equality. That's institutional abuse. And men are the target. Even if she makes more than you, even if she cheats, even if she initiates the divorce, you lose. You start the marriage 50-50. But when it ends, you're 100% liable. You don't gain life structure by getting married, you lose yours. You trade your system for hers, and if she's unstable, that setup becomes chaos. We talk about the money, but most men don't see the emotional toll coming. You invest your life, you try to be a good man, and one day she tells you it's over because she changed or grew or just doesn't feel the tingles anymore. You're expected to just accept that, to pack up, to lose your kids, to smile while paying monthly child support to someone who walked away, and the world will tell you to man up, be strong, move on. No one cares what it does to your soul. Let's be real. Marriage was never designed to last 60 years. In the past, people died younger. Now, with longer lifespans, you're expected to stay emotionally bonded to someone for half a century or more. That's not romantic, that's unrealistic. Some men still want kids, and that's fine, but you don't need a government contract to be a father. You don't need to hand over control of your assets and your future to have a family. And you certainly don't need to be legally bound to the mother. It's not about avoiding responsibility. It's about avoiding the sacrifice of your life. Marriage is often said to be good for children, but what really matters is whether the biological father is consistently involved. The worst outcomes happen when kids grow up without their father. Stepdads pose the highest risk of abuse, and single mother households have the poorest welfare stats by far. You don't need to be married to be a father, but if the relationship breaks down, the family court system won't do you any favors. Judges follow laws that prioritize past care patterns, so if you weren't already doing the daily work, you're unlikely to win time later. Be smart. Spend provable time looking after your kids, help with school and doctor visits. The more involved you are, the harder it is to be cut out. A positive development is that men today aren't walking in blind like so many did before. They're hearing directly from those who've lived it. Older men who've been through marriage, divorce, custody battles, and everything in between. That kind of wisdom used to arrive too late. Now it's out in the open and it's saving lives. You don't have to repeat the mistakes of past decades. A lot of men married because they thought they had to. Society expected it. The culture was different. Women were different. The law was different. Back then it made some sense. But today, walking into marriage blindly is madness. Take a hard look at the numbers. What do you earn? What would she get if she left? What are the custody laws where you live? What does a 10-year alimony order look like? What if she changes her mind about sex? What if she cheats? If the answers to those questions don't scare you a little, you haven't thought it through properly. The law, the culture, and the modern woman's mindset all work against you. Prenuptial agreements are rare, and judges often ignore them anyway. You're not failing by walking away. You're protecting yourself.